Hi, everybody. I'm Jen Henriksen with Jen's Travel Journeys and Cruise Planners. And I wanted to just get to know you a little bit, tell you a little bit about me. Because if you come to a travel club meeting, we've covered this so many times over the past couple of years. It just makes it easier for you to hear a little bit about me from a video as opposed to taking the time when we're together in person. But I wanted to give you a little bit of my background. So I was raised in upstate New York in the Syracuse area, small town called Baldwinsville, and I lived there until I was 18 years old. My travel background up until that point, my mom was the principal of my high school when I was a teenager. But all the years I was growing up, I'm from a big Irish Catholic family, lots of aunts, uncles, and cousins that live all over the place. And the last day of school, my mom would load up the station wagon and we would be on the road with my aunt traveling down to see my other aunts and uncles in North Carolina and Virginia. It was how we vacationed every single year, was packed into that station wagon and just enjoying time with family. We never really went camping. We never really took vacations as a family. It's just how I grew up. But that really instilled in me relationships and the importance of developing those relationships and sustaining those relationships. And I really think that kind of wrecked me for the rest of my life because I'm very much into not just where's the next destination, but who's going with me. And I want to go with them. So that's where the Jen's Travel Journeys thing comes in. But 18 years old, I moved to Clearwater, Florida, because it sounded pretty. And I needed to get out of my one horse town. So I met Tom within 2 weeks on Clearwater Beach during spring break, and 4 years almost to the day, we were married. So Tom and I have been married for 33 years now, recording this in 2023. We've been married for 33 years. We have two daughters that are 17 months apart. They traveled, we homeschooled them pre-K to college, pretty much. So I did a lot of traveling domestically when they were young, doing homeschool conventions and speaking engagements and trainings. My background was a public teacher, public trainer, public speaker. So they traveled all over the U.S. I think each one of them has like 48 states on their count list now, even if it was just a pass through. But we've done a lot of domestic travel. And when they got to high school and we kind of reached my third grade math aptitude level, we reached out to an online school that was offering a la carte classes. And I connected with the gentleman that owned the school. I just as a thank you, I used to do some photography, so I shot some pictures for him and gave them to him for his brochures and stuff. And he said, "Hey, aren't you the person that does travel?" And I said, "Yeah." I had a big homeschool group. I did ski trips and group camping trips for years, things like that, large events. And he said, "I really want to introduce students to foreign missions. Have you ever been to Europe?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Well, how would you like to go?" And I went, "Yes, I would." So that kind of started the next several years of the dream job for me. Blank canvas of putting these trips together. Where are we going to go? What are we going to do? Coupled with, I am very faith-based. So coupled with the, how do we introduce students to who God is and how does he look in foreign cultures and what does missions look like? So a combination of all of my favorite things. And a blank canvas for me to really just create them. I was so thankful to him because it really took off from there. We had, by the time the school closed in 2016, and by that time, I think we had 1,300 people that had been on those trips with me. And they were all like family. They all felt very close to me, much like many of you do that have been on my group trips before. It's just the relationship driver, Well, then when the school closed, I was like, how do I go get a job at Publix after you've worked that job going back and forth to Europe multiple times a year, sometimes 5, 8 months of the year? You don't. you won't survive Publix is my guess. So I really was encouraged to open up my trips under my own shingle. So I opened up the Jen's Travel Journeys at that time was called Mission Adventuring Travel. And, all the benefits would go back to a percentage of those would go back to the missionaries that I'd worked with all those years that are just like family to me. But I kept getting these phone calls for Grandma's Cruise and, hey, will you book this trip? Da, da, da. And I was like, wait, what? Because I had never done any of that travel agent world stuff before. And I kept calling a friend of mine and saying, hey, you're a travel agent. How about you book this? And after a while, she said, Jen, what are you doing? And I said, well, I don't want to book people's travel. I want to go with people as they travel. And she said, right, but you have the business now because the trips were slow getting started under my own shingle. You have the business on the travel agency side, just open a travel agency side of your tour company. So that's what we did in 2016 or to early 2017, actually. We opened the travel agency side. I flew to Texas and took a crash course in all things travel agent world. And I couldn't even believe it. I mean, I'd been doing so many of these things myself, thinking I was getting the best deals online, like many of you. I just thinking I knew so much and I knew nothing. I really knew nothing. So that was a game changer for me on both the tour side as well as the professional travel trade side. And because I had a volume of clients, a lot of times when a travel agent starts, the hardest part for them is finding the clients. Well, that was not my problem. My problem was fielding the phone calls and all the requests that were all from different, left field operators. And I want to go with this line and this line and this line. I'd never even been on a cruise. So I didn't know what I was doing. And I spent the next several years getting up to speed with trainings and learning all of those moving parts of literally hundreds of different suppliers. It was insane. And then I spent the COVID years honing it back down again. What is it that I want to specialize in? What areas do I really, really know? Which suppliers do I not really like because my clients tend to have issues with them? And over that history of those bookings, I still was able to do my guided group trips, just a very, very much smaller volume of people. But I just passed the 1,500 mark with my travelers on my trips. So obviously that's come back too. It just took a while. So my background in travel started with student travel and faith-based trips. And as my kids graduated from high school and college and moved out onto their own, and I used to teach marine science classes. So a lot of my classes had to do, or a lot of my trips had to do with a marine science focus because that's my jam, which you also will find out as we get to know each other. But that all went away. I wasn't teaching students regularly online anymore. And my hair color changed from brown to white. I don't know how that happened, but it did. And then my demographic began to change. So I wasn't in the student world anymore. During COVID, I had a lot of time to sail with my women's groups that I'm involved with, and I just adore them. And they became my primary friendship circle, my primary relationship circle. And the age demographic was now 60 plus, and more my wheelhouse. So I'm 55 years old now. I will regularly forget that, not on purpose, just so you know. But I hit on my target market, my group of people that I love booking. I still do a large volume of honeymoons because a lot of my past student travelers have now grown up and they're getting married and they want a honeymoon, and they know I do travel because we stay in touch on social media. I have a large following on social media, and it isn't all Jen's Rockstar. It's people that over literally decades I've collected as I traveled doing speaking engagements in cities across America. It's from the families with 7 kids that did trips overseas with me for a month at a time. They are family to me. And even if we only keep in touch very sporadically, it's always a reunion when I get a message from one of them. So I have a large public following because social media is really the way I keep up with everyone, family and friends included. So let me say happy birthday now because I will forget it. That's my one flaw, is remembering details like that. But it doesn't mean you're any less important. But it is a little bit about Jen Henriksen, my background, where I come from in the travel industry and trade. During COVID, I needed to be able to, before COVID hit, we had a staff of 11 people running really the travel agency side, but it was more Jen running it and then running 11 people. So we were straddling the faith-based mission team, church flights market, and cruises and tours and my guided group trips. So we kind of had our irons in a lot of different fires. And when COVID cut it and we had to regroup and restart or close, Tom and I opened a television and installation company. And it was just a, throw caution to the wind and hope this sticks. But it really did. It was, we own a company called Suncoast Installs of Tampa Bay. And it's an art and television hanging company. We install art on the walls and televisions with the, the movable, I don't even know what you call it, the mounts, and I'm so thankful for that, because that business really taking off during COVID is what really allowed me to hit the pause button, recircle our wagons, and get focused on how we were going to come out of COVID, doing the volume of sales that we needed to do without paying so many people to keep irons going. Really important things that we love to do, but you know how it goes. You can't keep all those balls in the air effectively. So we still own Suncoast, and that's going very well. Thankful for that. A lot of you guys come to us from Suncoast because, my husband's in your kitchen, and he says, "Oh, you're going on that trip, you should call my wife." And I'm so thankful he does, because you get a snapshot of who we are when Tom's in your house. And that continues on when you and I work together to plan that trip or book that travel insurance or whatever it is that you need for those trips as well. So it's just welcome to the family kind of thing. Let's see, what else can I tell you? I'm now dabbling in, I still kind of specialize in bucket list trips with my guided group trips. The ones that are always on the radar is the next river cruise that I haven't done in a while. Australia, New Zealand, Iceland, Galapagos, Antarctica. Those are big trips. Alaska, I do annually. I try to do that for that age demographic now, 60 plus. It's really bucket list. We know we've got a limited number of years and a limited number of funds to travel with. And what do we want to do next? That's kind of what my focus is more now. We do a lot of cruises because I needed that engine to pull everything together for me. So I wasn't paying out so much in the staffing and the managing of people. I could circle the wagons a little more. And ironically, the one that I love researching stuff like that, because I'm kind of a technology nerd. The engine that kept coming up after my research was cruise planners, a cruise planners travel agency. Okay, I'd been on one cruise in my entire life. I didn't know what a cabin category was. When I first started, I knew nothing. And I laugh now because I literally, to my Royal Caribbean rep, who we are top sales with, I went to the first meeting at like a Panera Bread company and I wanted to cry, because all these people had been selling cruises for 30 years and knew absolutely everything. And I didn't even know what they were talking about. Well, by these suppliers coming alongside, teaching me intensely, sitting at my kitchen table, showing me the back door of how things work. And I love to find those deals. I hit it. I hit it on how do I do business. So on the cruise side of things, we're just under $1 million in sales annually, which is really like the top 12% of travel agencies. Most of them are part-time or are turning business on a much lower scale, more for the discounted trips. We are definitely not. We hit the volume for sure. And we're so proud in, what is it, 2 years out of COVID now, that we're the top 15% of the travel trade industry, which gets us on the radar of a lot more suppliers. It gets us a lot of additional perks for our clients. So it's not about the almighty dollar. It's about the volume of business that we bring gets us on the radar for those future trips that we want, and the amenities that we can give our people, and the discounts. So it really has worked out well. We're finding our way now that the volume is picking up big time coming out of COVID. And we'll continue to do that. We'll continue to partner with suppliers that our clients want to get to know or are already traveling with, and bring you those trips. So that's a little bit about Jen Henriksen and Tom Henriksen. We are co-owners of both the travel agency and Suncoast Installs. We live right here in the Palm Harbor area. I know I do a lot of travel clubs in this zip code, but I could ride my bike to any one of them. So I'm very, very proud of the work that we've done. We both love our jobs incessantly, and we want to keep doing them as long as we can do them. And really, it's designed that way, right? We can do that. So thank you for your time investment in listening to me babble on about my background with travel, but I will never have time to give all that to you in a travel club meeting. So I'm glad we got a chance to meet and chat together. And I'm really looking forward to working with you in the future and seeing you on a future trip. Thanks, everybody.